According to the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, 75% of the world's population is unable to digest lactose after they've stopped being breastfed. So you think with as many people that aren't able to digest lactose, there wouldn't be so many food products with milk ingredients in them, yet the dairy industry continues to thrive. My intentions are to persuade you that the dairy industry is harmful in many different aspects. My credibility comes from my educational background and a lot of research. The main points I'll be discussing are the health concerns of the dairy cattle, the welfare of the calves, the environmental issues, and the negative impacts on our health. The first point I'll be discussing is the physical and emotional stress that the dairy cattle go through. The living conditions are usually poor. They're usually in indoor operations, and their necks are usually tethered to the point where they can't even move. Also, the flooring is usually made out of concrete because it's cheaper and it's easier to clean, but this results in a lot of hoof injuries. Also common is tail docking, which is where they amputate the tail to improve milk hygiene, but there's no scientific evidence to support that. The U.S. Department of Agriculture reports that 38.8% of dairy cattle have their tails docked. Also, in order to produce milk, the cow has to give birth to a calf. So they're constantly in this cycle of pregnancy, and they're usually only given a break about 60 days before they give birth to the calf. And this causes a lot of physical stress because they go from being milked every day to completely stopping. So it's painful because the udders engorge, which is called mastitis. So not only do you have to worry about the constant pregnancy, but also what happens when the calves are separated from their mothers. So the calves are usually separated about 12 to 24 hours of being born, if not immediately after they're born. You'll hear the calf and the mother calling out for each other for hours. The mother becomes so stressed that sometimes her milk production will decrease for days to weeks at a time. It's also sad because the calf is being fed a milk replacement while its mother's milk is taken to be consumed by humans. Also, the calves, after they're separated, the females are usually kept to go back into the milking herd, while the males, very few males, are kept for breeding purposes, and the rest are sold for veal production. In the article Raising Veal by Tamara Scully, she states that calves are usually slaughtered at the age of 3 weeks to 3 months old. So without the dairy industry, there most likely wouldn't be a veal industry. Dairy farming has its negative effects on the cattle, of course, but it also has negative effects on the environment. The dairy industry is usually indoors, so you have to worry about the manure and, of course, cleaning manure in their living space. It brings concern to how they're transporting manure and how they're storing it as well, because if it leaks, it can contaminate water supply. For example, in 2005, the Environmental News Network reported that a lagoon in upstate New York leaked 3 million gallons of liquid manure into the Black River, killing thousands of fish and causing the towns along the river to have to cut off their water supply. So not only do we have to worry about the manure, we have to worry about the methane production from flatulence and belching. Methane is a significant contributor to global warming. The Jeffrey Kluger from Time stated that according to a Danish study, the average cow produces enough methane per year to do the same greenhouse damage as 4 tons of carbon dioxide. So is damage to the environment worth what we're getting out of it? The main promotion for milk is that it makes our bones strong, but clinical research has shown that there's little to no benefit of dairy consumption. So some people consume dairy for the vitamin D, but the best source of vitamin D is going to be the sun. So about 5 to 15 minutes of sun exposure is enough for your daily intake of vitamin D. Pediatrician Dr. Benjamin Spock says that cow's milk is a common cause of colic, can impair a child's ability to absorb iron, and can also contribute to childhood onset diabetes. Also, the presence of lactose makes digestion difficult for adults. In infants, when we're born, we have an enzyme that allows us to digest lactose, but as we get older, we lose that. Speaking with Vanessa Gomez, who suffers from a lactose intolerance, she said that she started to get symptoms of it in her teens, which were gastrointestinal distress, flatulence, diarrhea, and she thought, there's no way that I can be lactose intolerant. I've been consuming dairy my whole life. But after eliminating dairy from her diet and the disappearance of her symptoms, she realized that she was wrong. So after everything I've discussed, what have we learned? The main points were calves suffering as a byproduct of the dairy industry, dairy cows physically and emotionally being abused, putting our environment at risk, and putting our own health at risk. I provided evidence to persuade you that dairy farming is more harmful than you probably thought before. So with 75% of the world's population being lactose intolerant, is dairy farming even worth the harmful cause it has on our animals and environment?